AITA for telling a coworker that he should shower before coming to the office? Okay, this situation has been on my mind nonstop, and I need to know if I'm the bad guy here. For context, I 28M work in an office where we're required to come in 3 days a week. The team gets along pretty well, and I generally like the vibe. That is, until Ryan, not his real name, joined about 6 months ago. From day one, there's been an issue. Ryan consistently smells bad. Not like he forgot deodorant once or twice. I'm talking a lingering, overpowering odor that fills the entire space around him. Imagine a mix of sweat, stale clothes, and something I can only describe as locker room left unattended. At first, I thought it was a fluke. Maybe he had a tough morning or didn't realize, right? But nope, this has been every single day. The problem is, Ryan is otherwise a nice guy. He's competent at his job, polite to everyone, and clearly eager to fit in. But his hygiene has become the elephant in the room. People avoid sitting near him during meetings. When we grab lunch as a team, someone always tries to steer the seating arrangement to avoid being next to him. Even our manager has given subtle hints, like asking everyone to keep the office fresh and professional in a team-wide email. But nothing has worked. It got to the point where I couldn't concentrate when he was around. Last week, after yet another meeting where his smell made it hard to focus, I decided to say something. I waited until the end of the day, when most people had left, and approached him privately. I said, "Hey Ryan, can I talk to you about something? It's kind of awkward, but I think it's important." He looked a bit confused but said sure. I tried to be as gentle as possible. I've noticed that sometimes there's a strong odor when you're around, and I think it might help if you made sure to shower before coming into the office. He just stared at me, completely silent. Then he asked, "Are you serious?" I said yes, and that I wasn't trying to be mean, but I thought it was something he might not realize. He looked hurt, like I had just insulted his entire existence. He mumbled something like, "Thanks for letting me know," grabbed his stuff, and left. The next day he didn't come into the office, and by lunchtime word had gotten around about what I said. Apparently, Ryan told a couple of people that I humiliated him and made him feel unwelcome. Now, half the office thinks I was out of line, saying it wasn't my place to bring it up, while others quietly admitted that someone had to say it. Even our manager pulled me aside and said, "I understand why you felt the need to address it, but next time, please escalate to HR instead of handling it personally." HR? Really? I wasn't trying to make it a formal complaint. I just thought a direct, private conversation would be better than involving the higher-ups. Now Ryan has been avoiding me completely. He still comes into the office, and to his credit, the smell has improved slightly. But things are awkward as hell, and I can't tell if I did the right thing or just made everything worse. Some coworkers have thanked me for saying something, but others act like I'm some kind of villain for bringing it up. So, Reddit, AITA, was I wrong to handle this directly, or was it better to address it privately instead of letting it fester? Story 2. AITA for confronting a stranger at the grocery store for trying to cut in line? So, this happened a few days ago, and I'm still trying to figure out if I overreacted. I was at the grocery store, and like everyone else, I was waiting in a long line to check out. You know the deal. Carts full of groceries, people impatiently scrolling on their phones, and a general air of, "Let's get this over with." I had been waiting for at least 15 minutes when this guy casually walks up with a basket, looks around, and slides right into the line in front of me. At first, I thought maybe he was with the person ahead of me, but nope. He was completely on his own. I waited for a moment thinking, surely he's going to realize he's cutting and step back, but he didn't, so I spoke up. I said, "Excuse me, but the line starts back there," and gestured toward the dozen people patiently waiting behind me. The guy turned around, gave me the most annoyed look and said, "I'm in a hurry. That's it." No apology, no acknowledgement, just an excuse. I responded, "We're all in a hurry." That doesn't mean you can just cut in front of everyone. The person in front of me heard this and agreed, saying, "Yeah man, the line's back there." But instead of stepping back, he doubled down, muttering, "It's just a few items. What's the big deal?" At this point, people behind me were starting to notice, and some were visibly annoyed. I told him, "It's not about how many items you have. It's about basic respect for everyone else waiting here." That's when he got loud, saying, "You're making a scene over nothing. Just chill out." I didn't back down, though. I firmly told him, "If you want to skip the line, you can ask everyone here if they're okay with it. Otherwise, you need to move." The cashier noticed the commotion and asked what was going on. After I explained, the cashier asked the guy to step aside and wait his turn. He finally walked off to the back of the line, but not before throwing me a glare and calling me a control freak. Now, here's the thing. Some people in the line thanked me for speaking up, but others looked uncomfortable, like I had overstepped. My partner later told me that while I wasn't wrong, I could have let it go because it wasn't worth the hassle. So, Reddit, AITA for standing up to someone cutting the line? Should I have just ignored it and let him get away with it? Story 3. AITA for refusing to give my coworker a ride, because he never chips in for gas? Alright, I need to know if I'm being unreasonable here. For context, I 29M work with James, not his real name, who lives about 15 minutes away from me. A few months ago, his car broke down, and he asked if I could give him a ride to work while he figured things out. I didn't mind at first. I get it, life happens. At the start, James said it was just temporary, maybe a week or two. I was happy to help, but 2 weeks turned into a month, then 2, and now we're on month 5. During this time, James hasn't even mentioned fixing his car or getting another one. It's like he's fully relying on me to be his chauffeur. What's bothering me the most isn't just the time or inconvenience. It's the fact that James has never once offered to pitch in for gas. I drive him to work and back 5 days a week, and my commute has gone from 20 minutes to over an hour round trip. Gas isn't cheap these days, and the extra mileage is adding up. At first, I thought maybe he just didn't think about it, so I dropped a few hints. I casually mentioned how much I was spending on gas lately, or joked about how my car is practically a rideshare now. He would laugh it off, but never actually offered to contribute. It started to feel one-sided. He'd text me every morning, sometimes even last minute, asking if I could pick him up earlier or drop him off somewhere else after work. He once asked me to stop by a grocery store on the way home, which added 30 minutes to the trip, and didn't even thank me. Last week, I finally had enough. I told him that I couldn't keep giving him rides unless he started pitching in for gas. I even suggested splitting it, which I thought was more than fair. James looked at me like I just asked him to pay my mortgage. He said, "Dude, I thought we were friends. Why are you making it about money?" I explained that it wasn't just about money. It was about fairness. I've been going out of my way for months, without so much as an offer to help out. He got defensive and said, "It's not like you're hurting for cash. Why make it awkward?" That honestly pissed me off, but I kept my cool and just said, "If you can't help with gas, I can't keep driving you." Since then, James has been complaining to other coworkers about how I bailed on him when he needed help. A couple of them think I'm being petty and that I should just let it go because it's not that big of a deal. But others told me that James has a history of taking advantage of people like this. Apparently, he's borrowed money from coworkers before and never paid it back. Now things are awkward at work. James has started taking the bus, but he makes sure to loudly talk about how inconvenient it is whenever I'm around. It's like he's trying to guilt-trip me into giving in. So, Reddit? AITA for finally putting my foot down? Should I have just let it slide and kept helping him out? Or was it fair to ask for a little contribution after months of free rides?
Story 4.
AITA for installing a lock on my daughter's bedroom door and upsetting my sister-in-law? This whole situation has blown up way more than I expected, and now the family group chat feels like a war zone. I, 38M, am a single dad to my daughter, Mia, 15F. She's an amazing kid, and we have a great relationship. She's responsible, does well in school, and is super respectful, except maybe when it comes to her messy room. But hey, she's a teenager. The issue started when my brother and his wife, Laura, temporarily moved into our house about a month ago. They're renovating their home and needed a place to stay, so I offered to let them stay with us for a few months. It seemed like the right thing to do, and I didn't think it would be a big deal. What I didn't account for was their 2 daughters, my nieces 13F and 11F, who have turned out to be, well, a handful. Mia was excited at first because she's close to her cousins, but that excitement quickly faded. Why? Because they started taking her stuff. It began with little things. Borrowing makeup or a hoodie without asking. Mia told me about it, and I had a chat with my nieces, explaining that they needed to ask for permission before taking anything. They apologized, and I thought that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. A week later, Mia came to me upset because some of her favorite jewelry was missing, including a necklace her late mom had given her. We eventually found it in one of my niece's bags. I confronted them, and they claimed they didn't think it was a big deal. Laura brushed it off, saying, "They're just kids. You know how girls are at this age." That comment pissed me off. Taking sentimental items isn't just being a kid, and I told her as much. I also made it clear to my nieces that they weren't allowed to take anything from Mia's room again. I thought that was clear, but a few days later, Mia came to me crying because her expensive headphones were gone. Guess where we found them? In the living room, where my younger niece was using them without a care in the world. At this point, I'd had enough. I ordered a lock for Mia's bedroom door and installed it the next day. When Laura saw it, she completely lost it. She accused me of being overdramatic and said I was treating her daughters like criminals. She claimed the lock was humiliating for them and that it made them feel unwelcome in my home. I calmly explained that this wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about protecting Mia's space and belongings. She's already sharing her home and dealing with a lot of disruption. The least I can do is ensure she feels safe in her own room. But Laura wasn't having it. She kept going on about how I was being unfair and how kids shouldn't have to live with locks and rules like they're in prison. My brother has been quieter about the whole thing, but told me later that Laura feels like I'm targeting her kids. He suggested I remove the lock to keep the peace. I asked him how he'd feel if someone took his stuff repeatedly, and he just shrugged, saying, "They're young, they'll grow out of it." Mia, on the other hand, was thrilled with the lock. She thanked me and said it's the first time in weeks she's felt like her room is actually her space again. She's been much happier since we put it on, and honestly, that's what matters most to me. But the drama didn't stop there. Laura went and told other family members about the lock situation, and now I'm getting calls and messages from relatives who are split down the middle. Some think I did the right thing by standing up for Mia, while others say I'm being too harsh and that I'm making my nieces feel alienated. One cousin even said, "You're setting a bad example by teaching Mia to lock people out instead of sharing." Are you kidding me? I'm teaching her to set boundaries and protect her belongings, not to lock people out of her life. The tension in the house has been unbearable. Laura is barely speaking to me, and my nieces now avoid Mia completely. My brother keeps saying I should just take the lock off and forget about it, but I refuse. Why should Mia have to compromise her comfort and security in her own home? So, Reddit? AITA for installing the lock and upsetting my sister-in-law? Or should I have handled this differently? Thank you for watching. Tell us what you would do in this situation.